Hey, good morning, good evening, good whatever it is. As always, man, I thank you for listening. Before I even introduce myself, I thank you for listening. I thank you for tapping in. Welcome to another installment of the Man Talk Monday podcast. It's I, Augustus C. Foster, your host, here with another episode. Man, I'm just grateful. Woke up this morning grateful. Woke up this morning thankful. And today's topic is somewhat going to talk about that thanks. No, wait, no, I'm not even going to start with that. I'll go off topic. But I'm extremely grateful to be a father. I'm extremely thankful to have children that recognize and acknowledge me. And I'm just grateful to God, man. Before I even get this pod started, I have to say I'm thankful to the Lord because He deserves it. Because He gives wisdom, He blesses, He does it all. And man, I'm so undeserving. As you know, you hear me always say on this pod, on social media, on other people's platforms, man, I'm flawed AF. Not the AF you're used to, but flawed Augusta Foster. Extremely imperfect, but grateful and thankful. And today I'm grateful and thankful, like I said, man, for fatherhood, for wisdom, and for being able to tap in with you. So with all the gratefulness and all that thankfulness, now we'll get into the pod, man. Today's episode, love and leadership. Why am I doing an episode on love and leadership? Well, very simple. I want to be able to sit down for the next 15 to 20 minutes or so and discuss love and leadership in a way where we understand that there is love, not just how you'll read this title with the ampersand. I love English. With love in leadership or love and leadership, love plus leadership, but love in leadership, I in. I wanted to explore that because I think we don't normally put those two things together. They don't normally go hand in hand for us. The reason I say that is you think leadership and off top, if you think leadership, specifically now at this point of the game, if you're an adult and you think leadership, you think your boss, you think your supervisor, you think someone on the job, you think the current presidential regime or political climate. Those are our thoughts of leadership. When in actuality, if we really look at this and we do some exploring on not just necessarily what leadership is, but how it's displayed, how it's laid out, how we see it. Like I said, our go to is so quick to that the job, life, other things, when in all reality, for all the fathers listening to this, my brother, you are leadership. And unbeknownst to a lot of us, not only are we leadership, but because we view leadership through the dynamics of fathers, but the control aspect. I've got to do this, and the kind of reigning over idea that we think of fatherhood, that we tie to that being leadership. Like, you got to kind of rule over your kids. You got to make sure of this. And yeah, some of that is leadership, but is it really? Today, we're going to kind of go into how you can not just show it from the concept of what we think is traditionally controlled, but really through love, through service, and in my opinion, the most important thing you could do as a leader, showing an example. So first, man, I wanna go to an area that a lot of people, if you listen to this, I'm a Christian. I believe Jesus died and rose on the third day. All of that whole game. So I want to go to a verse where I know surrounding this verse a little bit controversial because it's something specifically in today's climate with recent news over the past month. There have been some things where the church has kind of come under a rough light, where racial identities in church is a huge deal. Around this verse, really the fifth chapter of this verse, or the fifth verse of this particular chapter, has been a lot of discussion. But I don't want to talk about the fifth verse. That'll be a topic for another day. Today I want to talk about Ephesians 6 and 4. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Now, that comes from the NIV. If you go to the NLT, it's similar. You know, hey, don't provoke your kids to anger. Bring them up in discipline and instruction of the Lord. And the reason I want to kind of discuss this verse and how it ties in to the exploration of leadership and service and example is it exemplifies that. Your job as a father isn't to provoke your kid. Your job as a father isn't to put them in a position where they're pissed off, where they're angry, and not just necessarily you, because you will naturally do things as a father where your kids disagree with wholeheartedly. Like they're just not going to be with. I have a 15-year old. Me and her regularly do not see eye to eye, and I recognize there are some elements of that I played a role in, that others played a role in, and then there's part of it where I just know, man, she's 15. This is part of the game. Anywho, my job is not to provoke her. My job is to provoke any of my five children. It's not to provoke my nieces or nephews or put them in a position where they're angry or upset. My job is to train up a child in the way they should go. And when they grow, they will not depart. My job is to bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. And that means I've got to use the Bible as my reference. That means that I have to take these Christian values and principles and I need to, one, read them. I need to, two, talk to God. I need to, three, understand them and get revelation. And I need to, four, before I put it on my kids, I need to practice it myself. I think that's the major thing out of this verse. You know, of course, it's not provoking your children to anger, but bringing them up in discipline and instruction of the Lord. Pay attention to that instruction of the Lord. One of the biggest things that is repeated in the Bible. So much of the Bible isn't just telling you, go and just do. It's not just telling you just go and just do. Like we know you'll fall short, but it's be the example. Whenever you hear God say this person was somebody after God's own heart, like these people are living a certain example. They're not just telling folk what to do, they're actively living that thing. So this is how you're really supposed to move. You're supposed to move in a way where you're not just telling your kids, hey, you need to do what I say. The Bible says you need to follow this. No, Dad, the Bible also says you're not supposed to provoke me. You're not supposed to get me angry. You're not supposed to have me in a position where I'm upset with you. The Bible tells you, Dad, that you are supposed to raise me up correctly. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Raising your kids up correctly, being the example, that's going to require a little bit of grace and humility. A lot of grace, way more humility is going to require you to admit wrong, shortcomings for yourself. Because again, in that love and leadership, that real leadership has love, that real leadership has service, that real leadership is setting an example. I've been doing a whole series on Instagram about what's the standard. That's the standard, bro. What is the example that you set? Where's that humility and that grace? Because it's required. It is absolutely necessary for you to be an effective leader amongst your children. Think about it this way. And we use the example of work. You go into work, you look at your supervisor, boss. I love the idea of the military. There's the majority, because there is nepotism. There's people who the military is affectionately, skaters. You have people who skate. You see 1,000 memes and TikTok, specifically warrant officer. Shout out my boy Barber who just retired. Um, but you have in the military a structure where your chief, the top, first sergeant, master sergeant, gunnery star, all these people who most of them have had at minimum the same basic training as you, may not have been identical, but a lot of the principles, a lot of the spirit of core, a lot of the same aspects, 99.9% of the training you went through is identical. So they understand that base and that foundation. So as they move up through the ranks, through successes and failures, when they're senior NCOs, they're able to look down on junior NCOs with humility and grace because the services they've done, like now they set that example, but they've experienced it. So they're able to speak to that. They're not just giving you a bunch of words. I have this lived experience. Hey, junior NCO, I've lived this life. Hey, enlisted person as an officer, I've lived this. So they're able to speak from that humility and extend that grace because they know mistakes will be made. But now you as a father, you've got to do exactly the same. You've lived the same experience as your kids. It may not be identical, but bro, you've been 15. You've been 13. You've had a bad grade. You've gotten into a fight. You've sucked in a game. You haven't done what you needed to do in school. You've lived a similar experience to them. So when they're in that position, what's the example that you live? Do you have that grace and that humility? Are you a person of service? Like the book of hit you with the pastor, hit you with that Koja move. Turn your Bibles to the book of John. I was going to say like John extra hard, but I don't know how it would sound in recording. So if you go to John chapter 13, and if you read in John 13, I believe it's John 13 and 14, and it's Jesus and just the aspects of him as a servant leader, because that's really what we look for. Even in jobs, we look for a servant leader. Like I said, in the military, you look for a servant leader. You look for somebody who's not just telling you what to do or how to do it, but they've had the experience and they're willing to go through it next to you, with you. So you go into John 13, and is it believe it's, yeah, 13 and 14. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. So this is where Jesus is out there talking to disciples, and he shows this level of humility. The Savior of the universe, the blameless, spotless lamb, and goes, now I'm gonna wash y'all feet. And at the completion of washing their feet, goes, hey, so y'all see what I just did? That humility that I had to be able to go down on my hands and knees and wash your feet, and y'all recognize who I am. I had that level of humility, but I didn't just do it so I could say I have humility. I did it so that you could see with all of my work, I'm still, I'm going to go up on this cross, but I'm no different from you. This is the mindset you should have when you approach people. This is how you should move. You should have that humility. You should have that dedication. You should have that love for service. These are the kinds of things that you need to be as a father in the home, specifically for my remix dads, for my dudes operating remix fatherhoods. These are the principles you should have. And I know I have some people who aren't believers who listen to this podcast, and that's cool too. I would pray that one day you find the Lord. If this podcast helps you get here, man, you don't know how amazing that makes me feel. But even as a non believer, these are the principles you should have. These are the ways that you should move with real leadership. You should lead with love. You should lead with service. And you should lead by example. I use the example in the military because most of us who work aren't in the military. If you were in the military, you're no longer there. Thank you for your service. Grab that DD 214 and live your life. And most of us go to jobs where a lot of us complain about the leadership. They don't understand the role. They've never served in this capacity. I don't think they warrant this position. They don't know what they're doing. And a lot of us complain about the leadership and their ineptitude. And you have to sit back and think, is it really that they have, like, they don't get it? Did they really suck at their job? Are they really not like an effective leader? Or do you never show affection or love or appreciation to their subordinates? Do they actively go out and like really work hard? Does their track record show that? All of those, are they lead by example? Are they in the office locked in? And when they're not locked in, assisting others on projects when they need it? Do they have that flexibility to give those other people who are their subordinates, their reports, time to help them? Are they the person who you would look to in your organization? Really think about that. When you go to work, your supervisor, your direct supervisor, your CEO, your manager, whoever it is, think about it when you go into the office. Is this somebody who I would mirror my career after? I mean, my gosh, fellas, we do this every day at work. We contemplate, we think, man, would I really follow Reg? Is Reggie who I want to follow after? Or do I want to follow after the way Dan is doing it? I don't know. Reggie's a little lazy. I mean, he's made it up, but he's been lazy. He's kind of a slacker. He doesn't really complete his work, but he's made it up. Or do I want to be Dan? Dan isn't as high as Reggie, but boy, Dan be on the grind. Dan helps others. Dan's compassionate. Who we ask these questions at our job. We're not totally locked in to just, man, let me clock in and clock out. Because most of us think about getting a bigger bag. And in the process of thinking about how to get that bigger bag, we look to others. What's the example that they set? What I mirror, what I want to follow that career path that they have with their success? Are they the kind of person who I would want to follow? And again, this is for my believers and non believers. These are the principles you should have. These are the things that you should think of when it comes to leadership. Are you leading with love? Are you leading with service? Are you leading by an example that your children could follow? Because now you're not at work. Now you're not at home. Now you're back to being 10-year-old you, looking at your father, your coach, mentor, whatever important male figure or even female figure you had in your life. But for you now, as a father, as a parent, as a co-parent, as an uncle, as a grandfather, whoever you are, whatever man is listening to this, take those same things that you do at work to look to progress, to see how you're going to get the bag, to see what the next promotion is, and treat it the same way you do with these kids. Are you on a path and setting an example that you would want your son to follow? Are you the kind of man you would want your daughters to marry? I think about this all the time. Vulnerability window. I think about this all the time. Am I the kind of man? Have I set the standard to a point where when my daughters arrive at an age when they want to get married and have children, and I meet this young man and he is someone who is similar to who I've been able to become through life and bumping my head and experience? Or am I going to go before the Lord and do way more praying than I already do? These are the questions you should ask yourself. And that's it. In closing, I always like presenting everyone with a challenge. So again, believers, non-believer, whatever you are, if you're listening to this, man, my challenge to you, specifically into the holiday season as we go, ask yourself this question: how can I bless my family? How can I bless my children? And specifically, how can you do it with service? This holiday season, my family and I are going to go do a number of things with the homeless and the unhoused in the Atlanta area. If you're listening to this, I'm also probably going to drop a link. Uh, the organization named after my mother, Pamela Jones Community and Education Foundation. We're doing a cold drive, and we are aiming to service at least 100 people who are unhoused. And we're just going to provide them with basic cold necessities. Now, I'm doing this because God gave it to me in a dream, made the poster, my daughter, it's her service. And then I recognized, even when my daughter said, I just want to help dad, we got to help these people who don't have houses. I recognize in that, man, I'm so thankful I'm doing a good job. Because my daughter heard stories of my mother being a person of service and giving. My daughter has seen me give at church and to the homeless. My daughter has seen her mother care for other people. So she's seen us in service. So because my youngest daughter has seen us in service, because we've been extremely blessed to not provoke her to anger, but to bring her up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord, because of this, we're able to do this drive. And I'm not saying that to rain on anybody's parade. I'm not saying you're doing less than, you should be doing more. All I'm saying is my challenge to you is find a way this week to be a blessing to your family. It doesn't have to be through, don't let it be through what you say. Let it be through what you do. This week be a blessing to your family. And before the end of the month of November, be a blessing to your family via service to someone who could do absolutely nothing for you. Because that's where service lies. And that's how you teach your kids real leadership. Man, I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all as always. Thank you for peeping out this episode. Y'all be blessed. Have a great week. Go be a blessing to your family. Appreciate y'all. Peace.